I'm David Trimble, president of the Religious Freedom Institute. We're here today at the International Religious Freedom Summit, and I have the great privilege and honor of sitting here for a few moments with my friend and mentor in many ways, former ambassador of international religious freedom, serving at the State Department, and then continuing on to really be the leader internationally in that movement. Thank you, Sam, for all you've done.
Oh, it's an honor, David. Now you give me too much credit. I mean, to God be the glory. But it's been a calling. It's been one that I didn't necessarily seek, but I'm just delighted to be a part of this great, growing global movement for religious freedom.
Yeah, and it really is encouraging and such an important movement, right?
Well, it is. You know, like here, I visited earlier today with about 12 Pakistanis that were here, and they said, 3 years ago they had 2 that came. But now they've got this growing effort, and somebody then from Pakistan shared with me this video footage and this film that they put together. It's about a 18-minute documentary of people being persecuted, Christians being persecuted in Pakistan. And this is a Muslim woman. She said, we've got to stop this in Pakistan. And that's the growth of the movement. It has to go grassroots. It has to be taken and made native by everybody in their own country for it to have power. I mean, the United States can push it, and we will push it, and we do push it.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't go indigenous, it's a factor from outside, and it doesn't change the culture.
That's right.
But if they change their own culture to say, we really shouldn't drive all these Christians out of Pakistan. It's not good for us, and I'm actually kind of ashamed that we do that. Then you really start to get somewhere.
Yeah. Sam, you speak about this with such personal passion, and you've been civic leader and servant for a number of years in different capacities as governor of the state of Kansas, as senator, and then your service at the State Department, and now really as a leader in this international religious freedom movement. In terms of just fulfilling for your own person and sensing a drive, a calling, where does this kind of rate among all of those things you've done in service? Where does this kind of stand personally for you?
Well, for me personally, it's the most significant thing I've been a part of. And I really value and treasure my work that I've done against human trafficking. That was one of the first big bills that I carried in the Senate. I value and treasure the work I've done and been a part of in the pro-life movement. I signed 19 pro-life bills as governor, and we saved a bunch of lives. But this one is just, I think it's really a culmination, because it is a global movement, and it's so much persecution that's taken place. And as we see these authoritarian governments grow in reach and strength, they target religious communities because they know that's the one group that'll actually stand up and fight with them.
Right.
And so you get this increased persecution, and if we want freedom in the world, you're going to have the religious people be freed, because that's as I put it earlier today, the freedom of freedoms. That's the one that can spawn the environment and push for a better setting so that these other human rights can grow.
Yeah. Well, Sam, we appreciate all of your work in these other areas that you mentioned. In this particular area, you talked about the importance of it becoming a grassroots movement and really sparking a flame with indigenous people and them kind of capturing the essence and the meaning of religious freedom, why it's so important to their community, their society. Well, what's the key to that? How does it gain that footing with indigenous groups?
Well, that really is the question, isn't it? Kind of how do you make it their own, or how do they make it their own? And I think it's events like this and others where you get people that have that spark in them that I don't want Pakistan this way. I don't want Burma to be like this. I don't want Syria to fall into where it's run by Islamic terrorists. And not only that I don't want it, I'm willing to stand up and organize and fight against it. and then collecting those individuals, bringing them out, and then I think too it's putting infrastructure around them or getting them connected to, well, you know what, you need to talk to this person, or let me help you here. And so that this kind of nerve center that you've got created around an IRF summit can expand and move into this broader body. But it takes a lot of effort, but you got to have people on the ground in these places that they, in their hearts, are from these nations to make it their own and to build and connect into all the help and the resources like RFI and other things are.
Yeah. Well, and I think you're exactly right. I mean, this is the key question. You know, how do we create a culture and opportunity for communities to come together, just like you described? As you know, and we've been fortunate RFI has to partner with you and the IRF Summit, particularly on educational initiatives. And we really see education as a key element in helping build that community and advance religious freedom in community, because people really continue to believe and support and actively become engaged in things they really understand. And so we really promote education, particularly among younger folks, and getting them involved in this movement. Appreciate your backing, your support, and participation in that. Let me ask you just to talk for a few moments about the role of kind of the emerging new generation and young professionals, and how we really need them, and the place of education in that, and preparing them to really be the leaders and defenders of religious freedom.
You know, most movements are powered by young legs, and that's not what you and I have right now. You kind of, look, I'll give everything I've got, but I don't have young legs, and that's what the youth are. But they're also this new set of ideas, like the students that I've had in class when I was teaching. I'm not teaching this year, but they'd come at a problem totally different than what I would look at it, and I'd go, it's an idea I hadn't thought about. One of the guys, he was really focusing on Cuba, and he wanted to offer Mass, Catholic Mass, on a boat circling Cuba. That if people could make it out, they could, if they weren't able to get it in their country. And you kind of, that's interesting. You know, I mean, different people have done things different ways, but you're kind of going, well, that would get an interesting amount of publicity, and you might actually, maybe. Now you got to be out far enough in the territorial waters that you don't get attacked, and that may make it just impractical. Yeah. But the point of it was a different way of looking at it, to draw attention really to the problem of the restrictions that were there, that maybe might ignite some more activity.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And one of the things that I've learned actually from our college level seminars and our training of youth is that they are coming forward with fresh ideas. And they seem to have this gift, this talent of looking through a different lens and seeing things just a little bit differently, and coming up with new suggestions and recommendations that actually have a fairly sound basis. And so I was interviewing one of the youth today that has been in RFI programs for 6 years, and I've been amazed at her maturity and the fact that she now is, I don't refer to her as an emerging leader, as, you know, a leader that's, you know, going to be stepping into some capacity in, you know, 4 or 5 years. She's really part of the movement. She's leading the way with fresh ideas. I'm so encouraged by that.
Yeah, it isn't it, to see it. And I'll see a number of family members here that their parents have been persecuted, and that the son or daughter gets involved in the movement, and they've got just that personal story about, I don't want to have happen to other people what happened to my family. And they can share that story and the passion that has with them with other people to really spread the news and hopefully get more people engaged.
Yeah. Sam, you've been able to do some regional type in other countries, some smaller settings, but some regional summits that are kind of a spin-off from this, but have been very effective in Taiwan, I think, and Japan. And we're going to be launching one together coming this summer in Africa. Why Africa?
It's the continent we've done the least in. It's also a continent that if you don't get religious freedom ingrained into the governments there soon, you could really have a religious war in a massive way between kind of the north of Islam and the south of Christianity, and in that middle belt region. You're already having, radical Islamic terrorists in West Africa, and Nigeria is one of the deadliest places on the planet to be a Christian. And you're going to see that in that entire middle swath of Africa if we don't get the governments in Africa to say, no, we're going to guarantee religious freedom. If you're going to persecute or attack somebody on their basis of their faith, we're going to put you in jail. We're going to lock you away for a long period of time. We've got to get them serious about this. And to date, I've just really seen not much activity in Africa, and hardly anything out of the African Union to address religious freedom. If we don't get ahead of this, you're going to see a level of carnage that none of us are going to be happy about.
I think you're exactly right. In some ways, to affirm what you're saying, I think Africa is a boiling point. It's at a boiling point right now. But I also think it's a gateway of opportunity. And when I've been there recently, I saw the faith community just ready to explode with support for a movement rooted in faith and driving freedom across their country. So I sense that it's both at a boiling point and a readiness to be really receptive to this. And I want to say that I really am looking forward to working with you on the summit in Africa. Thank you for your mentorship in so many ways and your leadership in this movement, Sam. It's such an honor just to spend this time with you today, be your friend, and to be your colleague in this endeavor. Thank you.
No, thank you, David, and thank you for the work that RFI has done. This has been groundbreaking work, what you guys have done, and anytime you're groundbreaking, as a Midwesterner, that has a particular tone to me, which means it's hard. When you're breaking ground, when you're breaking sod, this is hard.
Literal meaning.
Literal meaning, and you guys have been doing it, so it gets tough. And I'm glad that you guys have hung in there through the thick and thin and the difficulty of doing groundbreaking type work. Keep it up.
Well, thank you. God bless you, my son.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Thanks, David.